Hi, my name's Malone Hodges from Malone Hodges and Associates at Carmel Realty Company in Carmel and Pebble Beach. Today's topic is termite reports, and I'm going to do my best to answer those questions in the next few minutes. So the questions we're going to answer today are, first and foremost, what is a termite report? What is Section 1 and Section 2 in the report? Do you need Section 1 clearance? When does the inspection happen in the course of a transaction? What the seller's strategy could be related to termite reports, the buyer's strategy, and the impact a termite report can have on loans. Since 1989, the state of California has said all termite reports have to have the same information organized the same way. So each report can look a little bit different, but they divide what their findings are into Section 1, Section 2, and Section Unknown. So when you hear a realtor or a lender talk about, well, what is the Section 1 work that needs to be done? They're referring back to the report and those items that are identified as Section 1. A Section 1 item in a termite report is an active infestation of either a fungus or sign of active infestation of termites. These are the kinds of things that you as either a homeowner or a soon-to-be homeowner want to deal with because they're actually damaging your house in real time. Almost always when there's a debate during an escrow between a buyer and seller or their agents about who should or should not pay for termite work, what they're talking about is the Section 1 work, the active signs of infestation. The other section is Section 2. Section 2 are items that are a long-term threat to the house. So a good example would be earth up against the side of the house, against the wood siding. Over time, that can cause rot and fungus and even a pathway for termites. So Section 2 items are those kinds of things that maintenance-wise you would want to do to the house. The third section is Section Unknown. These are areas of the house that the inspector couldn't access. So that might be under a deck, up in an attic without attic access, or in a basement, or a crawl space area that they can't fit into. So those are Section Unknown. Another part of the report is the bid sheet. The bid sheet is where the company that's done the inspection is offering their services to fix the Section 1 work. So the inspector's gone through the house, identified the issues, and then provided a bid to go fix those issues and be able to come back and provide what's called Section 1 clearance, which is ultimately what you want, whether you're a buyer or seller, because that's the statement from the termite company that there's no active infestation of termites and no active fungus or other issues that are of immediate threat to the house. So that's Section 1 clearance. So the question you're probably asking yourself is, do you need Section 1 clearance? So the short answer is it depends, which is often the case in real estate. But as you've heard me say before, if we've spent any time together, the biggest threat to a transaction in real estate is the unknown. And the termite work is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. If a seller, say, has got a property listed for sale, a buyer comes along, they agree on $1 million purchase price, just to use a number. And then during the course of escrow, they do termite work and they discover there's $25,000 worth of Section 1 work because the deck is shot, there's an active infestation on the property, which is going to be, $4,500 to tent, et cetera, et cetera. All of a sudden, this $1 million sale has a $25,000 swing in it that neither the buyer nor seller has expected. If a seller goes and gets a termite report before listing the property, he or she will know about that $25,000 expense. They have several options at that point. They can address the problem by doing the work and providing Section 1 clearance. They can do some of the work, maybe the stuff that isn't the most difficult to accomplish or the most expensive, and then have that information available. Or third, they can do none of the work, but embed the cost of the termite work in their pricing strategy. So that would be a seller's strategy in going and getting a report up front. Remember that as a seller, that doesn't mean you have to do the work, but you have the information which you can share with the buyer as part of the transaction. So that is a strong argument, obviously, as a seller to get a termite report up front. And it's also an argument as a buyer to recognize the importance of asking for any reports early on, ideally prior to making an offer, so you can incorporate the information in those reports in your offer. There's an important caveat when it comes to termite inspections. If you ask for a Section 1 work to be done in the contract, which is certainly your right as a buyer, be aware that depending on the seller's response, it can potentially cause you problems with underwriting if you're getting a loan. So if a termite report that shows Section 1 work gets in front of an underwriter, it is likely the underwriter will require that that work be done. So whenever you're talking about termite work or Section 1 work, or whether you should or shouldn't ask for it to be done, don't forget about the potential impact on a loan and make sure you and your realtor are including that in your thought process. As a seller, it's a really good idea to go get a termite report before listing your house that removes the unknown around termites. So you have some idea as you go into escrow what work might need to be done, and you can share that with a buyer. As a buyer, you probably are going to want to include a termite report in your due diligence if the seller hasn't done one. And recognize that should that report be surprising, it may reopen negotiations at the end of the contingency period about who will cover those costs. So I hope I've answered your questions about the termite report or termite inspection here in the state of California. If you have follow-up questions, don't hesitate to send me an email, malone@malonehodges.com, and feel free to send me other questions you'd like me to try and do my best to answer. Thanks.